I was not present for my sister Ashley's wedding yesterday, even though she is 27 years old and her brother is 29. I had assisted her around 2 years ago while she was undergoing therapy for a medical depression. I was the one who covered all of her expenses because she lacked the necessary funds, etc. Not one of our other relatives or her acquaintances had offered any assistance. I once needed some money badly, long after she had resolved her problems. She said she couldn't help and that I shouldn't bother her about it again when I asked. I asked her if she had forgotten everything I had done for her when she kept refusing, startled as I was at how much I had spent on her. Ashley questioned how I could claim to have healed her when, in reality, it was the medications, not me, that did the trick. She claimed that the physicians and medications were what helped her, not me. I didn't dispute. I informed her that I would not be attending when the wedding date was set. I informed her that I had better things to do with my time than to attend the weddings of people that are similar to her when she expressed astonishment and asked why. She became irate and demanded to know what was wrong, saying she wanted everyone to be there. She urged me not to make fun of her. I told her that she was incredibly ungrateful for not lending me money when she could have, and that she had humiliated me by dismissing everything I had done for her. She had no humanity at all, I informed her, even though I hadn't even asked for my money back that I had spent on her. Everyone encouraged me to ignore what she said and to go to her wedding after our dispute, but I didn't go and I didn't even congratulate her. Am I the foolish one? Edit. I asked her for $600, but I ended up paying almost $20,000 for her care. She recently obtained a job that paid enough, so I know she had the money because she could have paid me. Both our parents and the grooms were covering the cost of the wedding. I promised to reimburse her right away. She just responded that she can't help and that you shouldn't ask her again. I never claimed to have healed her. I informed her that I had paid for her treatments and prescription drugs, which effectively assisted in healing and curing her, and that I had also remained overnight in the hospital when necessary. She was depressed, and I didn't ask her for the $20,000 I was owed. She made no mention of returning it. Not the fool. She won't even give you the $600 you paid thousands of dollars for her therapy. It's absurd that your family ignores her actions and expects you to take it personally. She may have been cured by the physicians and medications, but the cost of the doctor's care and the medications they recommended had to be covered by someone. It appears that she forgot who came to her aid when she was really in need. You would undoubtedly benefit from being cut off from her and her family. I apologize for making this lesson so costly to learn. When it came to the foolishness involving my own family, I got off considerably easier. I owe you nothing because the physicians and the medication helped me, not you. I don't owe you anything because your automobile drove me to work every day for a year, not you. I owe you nothing because the food from the supermarket fed me, not you. Someone who applies that kind of reasoning is someone I would want to avoid contact with as much as possible. Tell her to ignore it if she asks you to pay for her prenatal care when she becomes pregnant. Saying that you are the idiot and that your perspective on helping your sister get over her sadness is just transactional is going against the grain. You anticipated that since you had assisted her, she would owe you money. When you needed it, did you hold it over her head? It does not operate that way. Unless you made it clear up front that assistance had conditions attached, you aid someone out of a sense of desire and without anticipating reprisals. Yes, something in the OP's account makes me question whether or not that's not the case there. The idea that a 27-year-old could afford to spend $20,000 for their siblings' mental health care and then be in financial trouble after 2 years is what fascinates me. I wonder if OP could have afforded that $20,000 in the first place. Was it actually paid for, or was it charged to a credit card? I feel like everyone is the idiot, but we don't know. Did they actually pay for it, or did they just pay interest on top of it? It's not quite the secret you would believe it is. Since the epidemic was still going on 2 years ago, it's plausible that OP lost his well-paying job during the outbreak and then used the money to give it to his sister. Either that, or since it's his sister and he wanted to help, he gave her money from his savings. She's just a brat, nothing more. A few weeks ago, I gave birth to my second kid. My son is already here. I had a daughter this time. She was called Alana by my spouse and me. When we announced the name, we didn't anticipate any significant response. However, my sister asked, "OMG, why would you name your child Alana?" nearly right away, which confused me because it was such a strong response. I informed her that we found the name attractive and felt it would go well with our daughter. I was so taken aback when she informed me that the name was the worst thing ever that I didn't even question her reasons for being so against it. After a week without communication, she insisted that we have a conversation. Since I was still shocked by her response, I nodded. When she arrived at my place, she reacted even more angrily to the term. She expressed her disapproval of the name we chose and asked how we could have chosen to harm her niece. I asked her what was upsetting her so much about the name, and why. She could only comment on the name's unpleasant connotations and ease of mockery, which made me wonder if she had a bad encounter with an Alana that I was unaware of. She told me it was pukey and that no one should have to live with such a horrible name when I inquired how. She advised us to rename the company before our daughter grew too old. Upon learning that I had decided to name my child Alana, she claimed she was at a loss for words. Since I didn't believe Alana was an easy name to be bullied over, she wasn't offering me anything that made sense, at least not to me. I informed her that my spouse and I felt that her response to the name was excessively harsh. I informed her that although she might not like the name, she didn't have to be so harsh on us for naming our baby after us. When she tried to spare my daughter from suffering, she told me that I was being impolite and that I should listen to her instead of criticizing her. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. I had anticipated a ridiculously extravagant name like Broccoli, Tinkerbell, or something else that hasn't held up as well. An ordinary name is Alana. Remind your sister to stay in her lane and get over herself. Your infant will accept her name just well. Could I recommend the nickname Lonnie? Ha! It's beyond me too. How is it possible for an emotionally developed adult to react negatively to a name without being able to articulate why? I believe your response is appropriate, unless she can clarify. Alana isn't particularly a strange name or anything. We've all probably heard about it. It's really quite an ordinary name. Her response is so strange that I was initially inclined to believe that her spouse or someone else cheated on her with Alana or something. I believe OP's sister adores the name but wanted it for herself. If OP modifies it for personal reasons, then she is welcome to keep using it in the future. Before OP stole the name, I don't think the sister ever expressed how much she loved it. The sister simply remembered that name. We do live in a weird world, after all. I know it sounds so ridiculous and nonsensical for her to perhaps then claim the name later on if OP did alter it. This just happened, and my roommate, who holds a different opinion than mine, and I are currently talking about it. A 38-year-old man and I, a 32-year-old woman, went on a date. We spoke on Bumble for 2 days before. Andy proposed that we go out for drinks today after work. On the app, we didn't communicate much. Like him, I would much rather head right outside for a drink. In any case, we went inside for a drink when I met him outside the bar at 5:30 p.m. He gave out a pleasant, carefree vibe. We took a seat and spoke briefly about the bar and the vacation I had just returned from. It so happened that he had been there before me. Everything was okay till that point. I asked him how his day was going after we finished that topic. I asked, "So what do you do?" And he responded, "Yeah, fine. A bit long and stressful, but I'm glad it's the weekend soon." After that, he looked at me angrily, didn't say anything for a while, and then just said that hastily. I was shocked to hear him say, "You're just interested in how much money I make, is that it?" in a really strong and sincere, almost angry manner. I think I answered something like, "Sorry, because seriously, what the heck is that answer?" With a simple okay, I put down my drink and left. I just got back and informed my guy roommate about it. According to him, I should have made it clear that I was merely inquiring out of interest rather than leaving, since he's gone out with girls who were only for his money. He also believes that it might have been a sensitive topic for the guy. From my perspective, that's a typical question to ask someone you've never met before, and his answer raised a lot of warning lights, so it was wise to leave. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. After he mentioned how difficult his week had been and how excited he was for the weekend, why in the world wouldn't you talk about jobs, professions, etc.? Well done, the unfailing dude turned hostile and combative throughout their first date. I'm 33 years old and pregnant with my first child, which my husband and I are ecstatic about. I was in the office this week to tie up any last-minute details before I take my maternity leave, which is coming up soon. I'm not in the US, for the record. Since I work remotely most of the time, even though my team has expanded quickly over the last several months, I haven't had the chance to personally get to know each new hire. That indicates that I had a great time interacting with a number of new people this week. I think it's quite clear now that I'm expecting. Since I'm turning over all of my projects to the team, there has been a lot of discussion about my maternity leave, and new employees have approached me about getting pregnant while I was in the workplace. This is not a problem, and I'd be pleased to talk about the baby and our plans. Still, one interaction this week left me feeling quite uneasy. Susan, a woman in her 40s, started 3 weeks ago, and while I'm away, I'm giving her some of my work. Although we've spoken on Teams a few times, Tuesday was her first time seeing me in person. She's questioned me non-stop about the pregnancy and gave me a very vivid account of her birth. Since it seemed strange, I made an effort to change the topic. She said, and I quote, "I'm not speaking as your colleague. I'm talking as your friend. If you ever feel or notice something odd, please feel free to reach out. This could be cramping, bleeding, or your water breaking, even if you need someone to help coach you as you prepare for birth." Just to be clear, Susan is not a medical professional, and we are engineers. I was really alarmed. Why would I call someone who was practically a stranger and divulge intimate information about my body, and why would she give this type of help? Thus far, our interactions have been formal, and today was our first face-to-face meeting. I informed Susan that I was grateful for her concern, but I was well taken care of by an amazing group of professionals and a loving family. I told Susan I was getting uncomfortable because this wasn't a suitable conversation for work and I would appreciate it if we could stick to project-related topics only going forward. Susan then said, "It is sometimes easier to talk to someone who's been through it. So please call me, even if it's the middle of the night and you don't want to. Wake your husband." Susan has been avoiding me at work, acting quite agitated, and responding to emails much more slowly. When I told my mother about what was happening, she argued that I was being too harsh because Susan was obviously only trying to connect with me in this way, which was all she knew how to do. I should have told her that the office wasn't the right place, but my mother stated I shouldn't have turned down her offer of assistance. She said that Susan might have come across as strange when attempting to make a female acquaintance at work. Was I the fool, then? Susan is undoubtedly strange. Even reading what she stated makes me uneasy. She's better off unhappy and avoiding you right now. Imagine how much worse Susan may get moving forward if that's how she first meets a coworker if you hadn't told her that her remarks were inappropriate and unpleasant for you. Think about how she would change in a few weeks. Yes, your new coworker is severely insane, so contact me in the middle of the night if something appears strange. Let your husband sleep. Susan would start calling it our baby and pushing to be present at the delivery if OP had in any way supported it. OP, I believe your mother is correct. As far as people are making out, Susan is probably not a total crazy. She was probably trying to make friends, thinking she was being helpful, having gone through a difficult pregnancy herself. She seems a little strange, but not in a bad way. Some people simply lack social awareness greatly. You may have chosen to move on and express your gratitude for having someone else on your side. You didn't, which led to a tense working relationship and atmosphere. I disagree. There are more elegant, non-intrusive ways to form bonds. Since Susan seems like someone who would tell others that you're rude, unpleasant, or bullying her, I would actually bring it up to your supervisor. Recall that it was she, not you, who caused this awkwardness. Never let anyone convince you that asking her not to reveal her birth story or give you medical advice caused discomfort. Cassidy, my former nanny, was a passable nanny all around. The main issue I had with her was after she departed, but we did have a few small disagreements here and there. In search of a new employment, she advertised her services on multiple online forums. She gave my phone number so that others might reach me for a reference. Numerous individuals started phoning us and inquiring about my family. In an intrusive manner. It made me feel really uneasy. Because of work, I am unable to simply block unknown numbers, so I changed my voicemail to say, "Please do not call if they were looking for a reference for Cassidy." Cassidy texted me to tell me to take down the voicemail because it gives the impression that she did something wrong or was a bad nanny. Although I don't think she was a poor nanny, I do believe she made a mistake. I would have happily written her a reference if she had asked me to. Actually, I'd instructed her to give me a ring if she required a letter written by me. She did not say that she would give out my number and have random people call me. Instead, she stated she would call me later. I consider what she did to be a privacy violation. Cassidy is adamant that this is the standard procedure. Perhaps it is. Until today, I had never had an employee. There are so many calls from unknown numbers on my phone. It seems like I'll need to get a new phone number. Am I the foolish one? Oh Cassidy, you surely won't enjoy the references the OP makes to you now if you were offended earlier. Not the fool. It is not customary to post your former employer's private phone number online for public harassment. Concluding the post with references will be provided upon request. She may have put you and your family in danger by posting private information about you on an open forum. Not every user of these boards is a suitable employer seeking candidate. Furthermore, I seriously doubt that her exposing your name, phone number, and maybe other private information online will impress anyone considering hiring her. It is a poor reflection of her. Inform Cassidy that you will be sure to advise people not to hire her if she doesn't take down your number from her listing. This is because, among other things, she doesn't understand why it is so inappropriate to publish your number online. Nanny exhibited a complete lack of manners and basic sense. She would not be allowed to watch my child.